Welcome back, everybody, to Rylee Reloaded. Against all better judgment, I've been talking to Savathûn, and I gotta say, she is making some damn good points. You know, this is the first enemy in Destiny's history where I blatantly know that she's the bad guy, and have seen the outcome of her schemes via the Witch Queen trailer, and I can't help but look at her like, ah, shit. You were right. There's that kind of Thanos effect on me where I kind of sympathize with the villain. I 100% agreed with Thanos. In fact, I would have snapped that shit twice. But I've been thinking about most of Destiny's villains, and most of the time they fall pretty flat because usually they lack one key element, having a connection to us or a meaningful engagement with us. In recent times, Bungie has had a bit of trouble writing an engaging villain that shows how high the stakes are, usually relegating their engaging stories into the lore, when if they were shown in game would provide a much more interesting story. Take Aramis, for example. She has pages and pages of lore books that paints her motivations and stories perfectly, but in-game, she completely disregards how capable of warriors we are and doesn't really show why she's interested in fighting us anyway.
Uh-oh.
Don't tell me. We're about to go over
The Guardian.
Yep,
Anarchy.
the bottom.
most likely.
Bring it on.
It's a testament to the in-game writing this time. They haven't been keeping all of the character moments and interactions inside of the lore. It's actually taking place inside of the game. The character that we know is an enemy is way more interesting and fun to talk to than all of the other parties we've dealt with for the past 7 years in Destiny. And we've only just begun to speak with her. One of the things that I love about Savathûn is the way that she is cunning, and you can hear that in the way that she speaks. She has something up her sleeve, but at the same time she is very, very diplomatic. Most of the time, though, Destiny characters are as flat and boring as a plank of wood, but they've been doing a good bit of work trying to flesh them out in the story recently. An example of the poor writing I can remember is when we began wielding the darkness for the first time, which should have been a monumental moment in Destiny's story, but barely any of the characters even acknowledged it, with the caution you would expect from a people who have spent literal centuries fighting against it. Now you have the most powerful legendary guardian of all time walking in and casually wielding it, and the most you can say is, hey man, cut that shit out, and explain why it's bad in a text box. You contrast that to the way Savathûn speaks to us.
When this is over, I wonder if Mara will uphold her end of the bargain and let me live. Killing me is probably at the top of your to-do list as well, isn't it? You've done a lot of killing over the years. Let me ask you something. Of all the enemies you've fought, how many saw your ghost and realized, that's why Guardians are so strong? Not most, but some. They might have even taken a shot at it. R.I.P. Cade. Now, how many saw beyond your ghost? How many followed the line of your light straight back to the Traveler? And how many knew enough to aim a weapon there? A few. The smart ones, the dangerous ones. You'd recognize their names. Listen to me now. Look beyond me to my worm. Look beyond my worm to something far, far worse. Then look down at that little gun in your hand and tell me, what do you think you're going to do with that thing?
What I'm trying to get at is that Destiny's in-game narrative has been a jumbled mess of half-baked ideas where as soon as things begin to start rolling and you get interested in characters, they would abruptly end and use the lore to tell the rest of the story. Now don't get me wrong, I love lore in games, and some of my favorite times in gaming have been cracking a book in Skyrim or reading through the Books of Sorrow. But when you place 90% of your character and world building into the lore and leave very little to experience in-game, that's when I start to have a little bit of a problem, which is why the way Savathûn speaks to us is so refreshing. She actually speaks directly to our Guardian without expositing some holier-than-thou dialogue at us like Mara Sov does. And it's been far too long for me since I, being the player, has felt that my character was the main character in the story. In Destiny, I'm basically the powerful silent mentor in the Uldren Sov anime. I've been telling myself for a long time that Destiny is an MMO now, and since it's an ever-evolving world, I don't need to be the main character. But then I started thinking again, nobody plays a game to be random schmuck number 2. We've come to be legendary, and it's been a long time since I felt that way. But Savathûn is the only character that places us at the forefront once again. And one thing I love about her character is that she is openly dissing us in this meta kind of way. She called my gun a pea shooter right in front of my face. And the only thing I could think of was, oh yeah? You think that's all I can do? Huh? I can stand on some plates, maybe even bank a moat. Bet you feel pretty stupid now. Out of all the villains in Destiny, I think Savathûn is becoming one of the best, simply because she learns and plays a very intricate chess match, dating all the way back to Forsaken. Now, Oryx was a great villain because he was imposing. He never really did anything besides annihilate the Awoken fleet, and then get killed by us. By most regards, Gaul is the most successful in posing a threat to humanity by literally almost nuking the sun and destroying the entire solar system. He even separated Guardians from the light, killing probably thousands in the process. But both of these villains barely interacted with us until we were literally at their door, ready to send them to Sky Wizard. Savathûn is different in that regard, though, because she is literally just talking to us every week. She's not attacking, she's not fighting, and she's barely threatening us. She's just chatting as if we were old friends, which is an odd thing to see for a character that opposes an Avengers-level threat to existence itself, which is almost scary if you think about it like that. And in my eyes, they couldn't have picked a better voice for her, despite some of her questionable lines.
R.I.P. Cade.
Which is basically this ancient interstellar paracausal being that conquered thousands of worlds going, heh! Got him! She sounds as sly as she's been hyped up to be, blatantly telling us her side of the story and the way she views things, which, by the way, based off her description as the hive god of deceit and lies, should be something I should be worried about. But you can just tell in the way that she speaks, she's got something up her sleeve. I love the fact that she's actually learned from previous mistakes and the mistakes of the enemies we defeated, using that knowledge to actually play around us. When Oryx fell, she learned that the sword logic was fallible, and instead begun to look for alternatives, which will probably culminate in her learning to control the light, or being gifted with the light. Now they've gotta do her justice in the Witch Queen with how hyped up she's been over the years. I mean, she's the one behind the events of the Dreaming City, Cade's death, and so many other things taking place. We have to be foolish if we think she's actually trapped in that crystal.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
You're locked in here with me!
I've seen it said in my comments that we're so easy to corrupt because Savathûn's silver tongue, but my thinking is, she's the first well-written character I've had in a while. And I know it's a bit goofy to think, but if it means something interesting will happen, I'm more than happy to listen to the Witch Queen every week. In fact, I'll welcome the opportunity to chat with her, because we're the only beings that actually make the world go round. It's like that old saying, you either die a hero, or live long enough to become the villain. And I think I'm getting there simply because of how apathetic I've been with Destiny and my place in the story for a very long time. I think in order to make us realize how high the stakes are, Bungie absolutely needs to connect us to the people of the city to show us what we are defending. We are Guardians and our main objective was always to defend the last city, but when you never interact with what you're defending, it's very easy to lose sight of what matters. I would love to walk down the streets and interact with people of the city, but I'm never given the chance to see what I fight so hard for. The only glimpse of that I got was when I saw my old stomping grounds of the old tower burning and the city in ruins 4 years ago when Destiny 2 launched. But anyways, that's going to do it for me. These are just some small thoughts I had on Savathûn and why I think she's becoming one of the best villains in Destiny. Let me know what you think of Savathûn and the Witch Queen expansion down below. You guys know I'm very active in the comments. I'm always lurking, and sometimes I answer comments at a pretty breakneck pace. It's like 30 seconds. I've already written you a book explaining my side of things. So anyways, I've been Rylee, and I'll catch you in the next one.